My name is Vikramjeet Singh. I work as a director with KPMG India. I am part of the larger IT advisory practice focused on cybersecurity. I'm here to moderate this session where we are trying to get some information and views and perspectives from our esteemed panelists on how to address risk and security in healthcare industry. So that's the topic, and I request all my fellow panelists to introduce themselves.
I am Colonel Satyendra Verma, retired. I am after 23 years in the army in the Corps of Signals, where I had quite a bit of exposure on the information security aspect. I have come to the corporate side, and after serving with an association, Internet and Mobile Association of India, where I am still the advisor looking after the cyber security and mobile security aspects. 2 years back, I tried to focus myself, my thoughts towards the healthcare sector, information security and healthcare.
My name is Pawan Chabra. I am the CISO for Future Janadi India Life Insurance Company. I take care of all the security aspect for the organization. The prime responsibilities revolve around building security in the organization to ensure that we are secured from all the aspects. Along with that, I am also wearing a cap of a DPO, where I am responsible for managing the privacy of the customer and of the employees for the organization, and acting as a data protection officer.
And my name is Vijay Jayaraman. I represent the technology provider side in this discussion. I represent a company called Citrix. It is a provider of solutions for organizations to get their users and employees reach their digital workspace, their applications, their data securely. Right?
I work for, this is an organization a couple of friends of us have started around a year back called U4Rad. We are primarily in the area of technology enablement and try to make the radiologists productive, hopefully by 50% more than what they do while they're reporting CT scan or MRI services. We all are looking at digitizations in a great extent, particularly during the COVID time. We realized the need much more than what we had realized it earlier. While we are looking at more digitization, that means that we'll be more vulnerable to a lot of hacking. I'm using the word probably for ease of understanding. There are too many other ways of also getting vulnerable to the information that we all share with our clinical friends, knowingly that these information will be the most confidentially kept secrets in our life. Now the question is, there are times without their knowledge, these informations are being shared and made available publicly. So it's very important for us to take adequate measures and ensure that we are doing justice to the information that the patients are sharing with us, being a healthcare provider. I had the opportunity to work with multiple projects of such during my tenure with IBM, and also with my tenure with other hospitals, organizations that I have worked with, and tried a little bit of working on both privacy, security, and confidentiality. These three are different but important, that we should handle them together. Only handling one of them may not be adequate for us. At the same time, if we can also add the risk management, I am really thankful to Tech Plus Media that they have included the risk management and security together. Often we participate in the discussions where the risk management part is not represented adequately. So here, Vikramjit, I am extremely happy that we will be taking up these discussions, and all of us would contribute with our abilities and discuss and learn from each other.
So we have a couple of entrepreneurs also in the group. Brilliant to have your perspective. And just to start this rolling, Vijay, I request you to share perspective. Parthaji also mentioned this entire digital transformation journey which is happening, and in fact it was enforced on all organizations through COVID, as in pandemic which happened last year. And suddenly the premise had changed. We are talking about Industry 4.0, which is a lot applicable on healthcare industry also. IoT and other technology advancements which are happening, but then suddenly this changed overnight, come 15 March or whatever date that we want to apply in various countries across the world. From your vantage point, I understand you were delivering previously also these solutions, but then from a solution adoption perspective, especially in healthcare industry, what were the big changes that you foresee? And you mentioned that a lot of them are your customers. So what is the adoption and what is the reason of adoption? Maybe that will help the larger group also.
Sure. And as I said, the healthcare, banking industry, some of these industries which are regulated have never been used to sort of hybrid working environment where people work elsewhere than their core locations, right? And primarily it's because of the sensitivity and the confidentiality of the data that they hold, the IP that these companies, organizations hold, right? And while many of these organizations deployed solutions from technology providers like us to ensure that the data is safeguarded, their devices are safeguarded, the enterprise resources are compartmentalized. Right. What we really saw towards last April, end of March, right, as you said, is movement of some of these services that get delivered out of the cloud, right? So that is one very important thing that we saw, because a lot of that had to do with supply chain constraints that rapidly it happened, right, overnight, and there were no supply chains to speak of at that point of time, right? And it probably still hasn't eased a fair bit. So that is one. And second was no one knew what 6 months down the line looked like. So people wanted something that could be consumed on demand, something that they could just take as a service and then adopt it to the situation right then and there. So that is one of the things that we saw. Second is how do you ensure that the devices, the laptops, the things that the employees work from in their offices, right? When folks are working from home, right? We are talking of shipping thousands of desktops and laptops and things like that from offices to people's homes, right? And people were faced with that reality of shipping equipment to people's homes in situations where there was a lockdown, right? And it was a terrible time. And many of these organizations adopted quasi BYOD, bring your own device policies at that point of time. And again, we have to remember that it is easy to access from a foreign device your networks, your resources, your applications, your data. But how do you compartmentalize them within those devices, right? To ensure that there is so we saw a lot of adoptions of technologies which exactly did that, right? The third thing that we also saw is in terms of productivity, right? Many organizations wanted some of the headaches of transactional work to be taken away from employees who are working from home, right? You're getting burnt out working 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, right? Work from home is not getting any easier than what used to happen in offices, right? So can they automate some of these tasks that people do often? For example, if from a sales point of view, right? If a market rep is used to taking out a report at a particular time in the day or the week, every consistently, right? Can I have something monitoring it and send out those reports rather than the rep going to 10 different applications, figuring out which report to take and things like that, right? And a lot of, I can speak of many such instances based on the industry, right? And so some of those digitization of those workspaces is something that people looked out for. And also now people have realized, and every analyst is speaking about it, and every organization is speaking about it, that this is probably irreversible, right? Some of these trends are going to be irreversible, whether you speak of adoption of services that can be auto provisioned, for example, cloud, whether it is the trend towards hybrid working, right? All this is here to stay for a long time, and people are getting used to that sort of getting used to providing solutions to cater to that, right? And so security is prime on people's mind. Getting people easier and more productive to work in their own digital workspaces is something that we are also seeing, right? So some of these things will accelerate as we go along when these deployments happen. Vikram, back to you.
Thank you, Vijay. Partha sir, moving on. you mentioned, in fact, all of us have heard about this security, information security triage when we CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability, and of course, now when we talk about it, we are necessarily also adding privacy as an angle there. So 4 things instead of 3. You touched on privacy part, and you also spoke about previous experience in IBM, other hospitals, etc. So privacy is a big thing, as in while it is not really regulated, quote unquote regulated in India, but then HIPAA stands for a very long time, and some of the organizations may be wanting to adopt a golden standard. And through your experience, what have some of these organizations done and what they should be doing so that they are slightly more not just compliant but also truly handling the privacy of is in patients and or other users of the information that they are having?
Yeah. So I think this has to be in the DNA of the organization where they are managing the privacy. The technology enablement to manage privacy is one of the way, but organization philosophically should decide among themselves, like this is something that we have to protect. This is something like somebody has uh, shared this information knowingly that this information will not be leaked, and we definitely need to honor that commitment over there. This is a very important concept. The organization where people have taken it very seriously and they are monitoring on regular basis, auditing this privacy, and then how looking at the patient complaint, and if there is any privacy, taking real actions. Those organizations I found have done better compared to the organization who have taken a more lenient views of like, okay, this is fine, privacy is important. If you are doing it, fine. If you are not doing it, I'm also fine. So as in absence of regulation, sometimes it also like, we feel it's not that every time a regulator has to teach us how to do things. Self-regulation is the most important thing. A lot of times, ethics takes precedence over everything else in life. If we think that this is more important for us to practice, we don't need to wait for a government to come up with a regulation and say that these 5 things you have to ensure to maintain privacy. The organizations like hospitals should adopt self-regulations and then have a completely transparently printed privacy policy, so that the person whoever is coming over there, that person knows up to what extent their privacy are being completely maintained by that hospital, and up to what extent there are some data that could be disclosed, right? So that is very important, and we all feel that it is my right to know that how much of I am sharing would be completely private to me, and what could be in circumstances could be disclosed. I am yet to see a list of that which is being publicly available. Like, most of the hospital nowadays have started talking about what is our rights and responsibility. This was not there 20 years back. Some organization has started, others are following it. Is it mandatory? Answer may not be no. NABH has tried to put some emphasis. Some people have started kind of liking it. Some patients have started talking about it. So it looks like most of the organization have started putting it in a at least place where people can see it. Earlier it was all in a quality manual, and quality manual is kept in the locker. So that's the way this has worked. So I understand. I think the best way would be to have our own privacy policy, whatever we think that we should follow, and then make it public. Let people know that this is the way we are following it. Put this as a part of the quality training is being done for all the staffs, particularly the clinical staff, because they will be handling more private information than others. And then how we voluntarily disclose if there is anything has been leaked. Now that's also is very important. In India, a lot of times we feel that there is nothing is happening because there is no data is being shared on leakage, because there is no regulation is asking me to that you have to share the data. But it's very important, if we have leaked certain things, certain area, we have failed to protect certain informations, if we have violated certain norms, it's very important that voluntarily we come up and share the data. Both technology and the consulting organization where we would be advising a lot of client. But sometimes I feel the big four also have a very important role to play in this aspect, that we should go and advise the client adequately on this area, where client honestly most of the time they don't have the required knowledge to get things implemented. So if technology and consulting organizations, they take up these aspects and then include in the risk assessment audit I think this is going to be very important things in the hospital CEO's list to do things, and this will be done.
It has to start from the top, and they need to acknowledge this is a problem which needs to be solved. Until that happens, then the IT organization or the CISO office may not have money on their own to really spend on these things. So acknowledgement has to come, and there has to be a push. Pawanji, moving on to your side, and you have a very interesting dual role, both CISO and DPO kind of a thing. And understanding the insurance sector, I am not sure whether we have started adopting any IoT kind of devices. I know some of the global companies are doing, they are giving some wearables to users through which they are able to track health records and then subsidize on insurance. May not be there yet. But then I am sure all insurance or even a lot of hospitals also are wanting to leverage analytics so that they can make their policies better, they can serve the customers better. And then comes a very difficult challenge. Analytics solutions are very costly if you were to go and completely implement in-house on-prem. And thus, the providers are suggesting you send us data, we will do the analysis and give you insights back, as in send it to our platform. That essentially is sending your most sensitive information onto a public cloud kind of scenario. And I'm not sure. So that's the challenge I've heard from a few clients. Do you also face this challenge? And how are you dealing with it? That would be of interest, I believe, to everyone.
Vikramjit, you touched upon on a very critical points when we talk about data of the customer, specifically related to the health data. In India, it is not regulated right now, and not all the organizations are asking for that data as well, because there is no platform in the backend which can do such analytics and help the organization out in producing a desired result. We are still in a transitional way where we go to we get the health checkup done of an individual, get the report, and accordingly the further action is taken, whether issuing or denying the policy. That is a part of the underwriting process, and they generally take care of such aspects. But yes, like I said, that these are the things which are not yet started getting adopted in India, and until and unless it is regulated, I will still say that it will take a good amount of years when it sees the light and it comes into the force. Considering the data we deal with, Parthoji has touched based upon on a very critical point that the objective has to flow from top to bottom. It is not a bottom to top approach. If management is not concerned, management is not bothered about it, nothing is going to happen. And especially along with the organization having knowing the importance of data and privacy of customer, I believe that a thought process has to be given from the user perspective as well. User need to be made aware of the data which they are sharing with the organization, and they have what right to ask that for what purpose are the organization going to use that data. Especially if you look at the proposed data protection bill, if we talk about, which is again getting amended, and the final draft is yet to come. If I look at the previous draft of 2019, it talks about certain rights of a data users, which is called data subject. Now, data principal is obliged to follow certain guidelines to ensure the data subject is not exposed. When we say that, so data subject has have been given that privilege that they have the right to ask organization to erase the data as well when it is not used or they get disassociated with the organization. So those aspects are very important. And until unless we make our people, the individual, aware of their right, they will not come to know about it. And looking at the history, if you look at it, the security has been relevant for hardly 10 to 12 years now. But the data sharing has been there since beginning. So India is always known for vomiting data. I'm sorry I'm using such words, but that is the fact. You today go to the mall, there is a person who is standing and asking you to fill the chit to give you a free holiday, and we happily do it, right? Certainly, similarly, you get a free T-shirt, you fill the form. Online, there are many phishing campaigns which are running today. ever since the COVID scenario has started, the lockdown started, since last year, January, there are 500 domains which got registered every day. For what purpose? They are not for the organizations or the business have been launched. They are for the phishing purposes only. And if you look at the amount of data of the organization being impacted in India this year with the different kind of ransomware, the different kind of phishing attacks which had happened, the people organization have seen more than 300% jump in their incident getting reported in the organization. Why it is happening? Because the data which is there is critical, and hackers knows more than us, right? And that is why it keeps on happening. Even today, I was reading a news. There is a leading telecom company. I'm not sure whether you have heard it or not, but their data got leaked. Around 2.5 million customers' data, along with Aadhaar data, which has been released by a hacker in public. Why? I mean, that because that was crucial, and he knows the value of the data which has been getting shared. So along with organization understanding the privacy of importance of privacy, it is, I believe that user also need to be cognizant and given that understanding that how important his data, and he should know that what all his rights are, and then only it can be converted into a secure environment, because it has to be from both ways.
Definitely agree. As in, from a privacy management perspective, when we talk to our customers, we tell them this is a people, process, technology issue. Because don't really think that just by wishful thinking we'll be able to fix it. We need to do user awareness, education from people perspective, define right processes, and bring in even technology controls. Like you said, right to forget. So you are storing data, and we have a classic conundrum. We want financial data to be stored for endless, as in 10 years minimum, and then they said if there's a litigation, you retain it for all the time. Vis-a-vis privacy-related data, which we are saying individual user can come and say, forget me. So that needs to be removed. We need to have that segregation at technology level so that we can do the different archiving, different storage, etc., and then take that action. So that's enablement which has to happen. A long way to go, and that's a journey. Kanal Verma, coming on to you, you interestingly mentioned that for your observation through your research in last 2 years, the state is very nascent and a lot of distance to cover. If you were to advise not just the CISOs or the IT heads, but then maybe to the boards or CEOs of healthcare, hospitals, or health-related organizations, what are the 3 key things that you would want them to?
Okay, so really, I have nothing to say to the CISOs. They are, I'm sure we all are speaking the same language. You know, each and every one of us, all of you, whoever spoke before me, you were speaking what I wanted to speak. So you've just helped me out. We are on the same lines. We agree that there is a need is very urgent, and the awareness is very low. So what happens when the awareness is low? Who takes charge of the situation? Firstly, the hospital, there is nobody to ask him, like as a user, that, you know, where is my data and is it secure? And in case there is a data leakage, I'm going to hold you responsible. There's nobody asking him. Okay. Then there is nobody is regulating him from the government side that, okay, these are things that you're supposed to do, which we expect to be done through this data protection bill. It is pending for 2 years now. There's nobody to do that. So in absence of these 2 things, the hospitals are very naturally, they will now look only for the business part. So when they look for the business part, security always is a overhead. You know, it is the heavy part of it, is non-paying. It in fact eats money. It discredits. Okay, and it, you know, adds weight to your system. It adds. You have to hire more people to ensure it. And security is never complete. So, you know, you cannot claim that, oh, no, I'm fully secure. So security will never come on its own. Out of let's say there are 100 hospitals in India, only less than 5 will be somebody like Partha sir is mentioning. Very few people will say, okay, this is my responsibility, let me do it. They will always have to be guided, or they will have to be forced. They have to be told that this is your duty. And in absence of the data security bill, I am very sure that we all will be twiddling our thumbs till the time it is out. There is no way, because the user is unaware, and there is no way that the structure is such that even if there is a data breach, hospitals, all they have to do is just put a clarification in the press release and say that, you know, we have done the necessary things and we plugged now. That's all. That's all. If we have very recent past, in last 1 year itself, we have seen serious data breaches in big lab, okay, and 2 hospitals, ransomware attacks, and all it ends up, the follow-up is only a clarification that we will do the necessary amendments. No cognizance is taken on the future or the responsibility part, because they are not aware. It is not there in the charter itself. So that said, negative, all those negative parts which I've said. Now, who is going to do the thing? Somebody, if Partha sir says that KPMG's responsibility is to do the awareness part, then let me assure you, sir, you need many Babajis to do this work. It is, you know, you have to be, all of us has to be evangelists and go from hospital to hospital. How many of us can afford to do it? I raised a startup, a company called Xscale Innovations Private Limited, and I am just waiting, frankly speaking. But no harm, no problem. This is a risk which you have to do in whenever you want to innovate in a big space. As and when it happens, I can assure you that none of us will have time to do panel discussions. I can assure you this part, because it is so open and it is zero served. Whenever this data protection bill comes, we all are going to be very busy, and so looking forward, it's only good news.
Colonel Verma touched on the point, the limitation on budgets, etc., and norm, all of us know about it. The is height and getting thinner and smaller as we progress, while the challenges are increasing, but then they are getting smaller. If, and this is a kind of a hypothetical scenario, but if suddenly the board, the CEO tells you we do not have the constraints, what are the 1 or 2 key projects that you would want to pick up, which will really change the security posture of the organization or the policy posture of the organization?
That's a very interesting point, Vikramjit, which you have touched upon. Though I would say that I am one of the fortunate person who has not seen such a scenario where I have been given what I have asked for, and there has been no limitation on that. And we have not we have not gone over budget as well. So whatever we have budgeted, we fortunately implemented that as well during this pandemic time. But yes, if there is a limitation on the budget, the one thing which I would always focus on and invest money on is the user awareness. If you look at the history of the hack, they have not happened because of their technical challenges. They have happened because of some of the other mistake by a user only. Whether it is misconfiguration, whether it is an action taken by the user, whether there is some software getting installed by a user, some website visited where malware is inserted. So these are the scenarios which I am talking about, where you have to ensure that you update your employees, your users proactively and give them awareness with examples. The important of example is they will understand by putting themselves in the shoe of an hacker and see that what action can reach it to give a way to the hacker to get into the environment. Now, giving you a simple example of password reset, we generally don't do it, though policy, until and unless policy pushes us, and then we keep a simple password as well. But user awareness need to be given that they should not use a simple password. We can force it by system as well, through system as well. But what if we force it and still they keep the same password? Now we realize, I was reading a study, and that's one of the change we also made. Cracking of 8-digit password has become so easy now. It can be cracked in maximum in a month's time. Now, do you think is it secure with the complexity of a special character, number, capital letter, and some other letters? But whereas if you moved it to 12 character, it may take few years to crack. It's a small change. But does your user understand this? No, technicality they won't understand, but you need to make them understand that why it is important to have a complex password. Now, the other thing is we as a human has a tendency of keeping the same password. Now, being digital, that's a common mistake which we do. Keeping a same password for multiple accounts. I will have the same password for my laptop. I will have same password for my office email ID, and I will try to keep the same password as my personal email ID as well. Now, and similarly, we use the same password on multiple different apps as well.
I can very well relate to what you were saying. You can enforce a policy 8 character and special 8 digits and special character and all of that. And we have seen passwords 8-digit passwords which can be cracked in literally a few minutes, not even few days or weeks, because people have kept as simple as a password with some replacements. So a simple dictionary attack, it can be cracked in a few minutes. So yeah, user education, you can't really stress enough. And I think all the listeners will really pay attention to that. I'm absolutely on board with that. Vijay, moving to a different topic, OEMs do spend both time and money in looking towards future. As in, you're representing one of a large OEM. What are the themes you believe are going to emerge in maybe next 2 to 4 quarters time, which the healthcare industry should be aware of and then should be adopting some of those things?
Crystal gazing again, probably a couple of years down, right? 2 quarters and 1 quarters, not too much moves in the time frame, but probably 24 months down the line. And I've had the privilege of working with healthcare folks across the value chain, whether you're talking the third-party assurers, the TPAs, or whether you're talking about the insurance companies, or whether you're talking about the pharmaceutical companies, right? Across the chain. And one thing we are very clearly seeing is a big interest in security, right? And some of it is regulations driven. And when you look at organizations like TPAs, for example, or the transaction providers, and they are regulated so that, and many of these folks provide transaction support for Indian companies and as well as companies outside the country, right? And we know that, for example, the American markets are far more regulated as far as data protection is concerned, as far as how you handle and treat customers' health data is concerned, right? And that is actually applied to the Indian context also from their point of view. So we're seeing a lot of those technologies being adopted, or it is being spoken about, right? Things where can I have watermarking for a customer data? Can I have clipboard controls for customer data, right? And can I only have customer data going to users or devices on a need-to-know basis, right? Those sort of things. I think some of those companies are very, very sensitive to this. Even in absence of regulations within the country, what they're doing outside the country is getting transposed to what they're doing here also, right? So, and I think that's a good thing. And hopefully, as the regulations follow, it will get tighter and tighter, right? The second is obviously economics, and economic threat drives security too, right? For some of the pharma companies, for example, we are seeing the loss of intellectual capital, IP, right? Data, the formulations and things like that is a big driver for them to adopt some of these technologies, right? So we're seeing that in spite of regulations not being there too much, they get hacked, they get compromised many times. That we heard over the last 6 months, a couple of pharma companies getting attacked by ransomware. So that it's not uncommon, but they are getting sensitive to it. So security is going to be a big play across the value chain in the industry over the next couple of years. A second thing that we are noticing, we are seeing is the use of analytics, the use of third-party folks doing data processing for them, right? To do event correlations for many of these. It again depends on which part of the value chain we're talking about. But some of these analytical solutions, whether it is for IT systems, whether it is for the healthcare systems, all of them, we're seeing huge conversations happening, and we will see adoption happening over the next 18 to 24 months. Third thing is productivity, right? As hybrid working takes place, right? As multiple devices get connected to these healthcare systems, right? How do you ensure that people are provided the experience? People do not see security as a constraint, right? And of course, Pawan spoke about authentication. So different technologies for multi-factor authentication, biometric, those sort of things, we will see a big adoption, right? Primarily focused on ensuring that the employee experience becomes better and secure at the same time, right? And getting some of those operations as far as employees are concerned, right, automated, right? Many of the things that employees do day to day, looking at 100 different applications, they can be automated. So can we take that out of their hands? So that is one more conversation that's happening. So and all of this is people are willing to look at services that are delivered out of an Indian shared service cloud, right? So these are conversations that are happening. Some of them are premature. Like for example, the example I gave of a shared service, a cloud, right? The CISOs are still not fully convinced that I should put my data out there, right? Understandably so, right? But the trajectory of that discussion is going where we know where it's going. So those are some of the things that we will see happening in the next 18-24 months. Again, guesstimate.
No, sure. Those are good ones, Vijay. Thank you. Pathaji and Kanav Verma, to both of you, you may please speak one after the other. From your own vantage points, as in I heard privacy is a big thing which you're expecting to happen. But besides that, if you look at the risk management for healthcare industry, as in from your own vantage point, what are the things that you believe would be exciting, both for you as an entrepreneur, where you would want to help the organizations, or would be very pertinent for them to adopt, and more interesting for them to adopt, where of course it may become business for you, but then they should be doing those things besides privacy, one or two other things.
Okay, so as an entrepreneur, what interests me, I am also a bit of technologist. I would love to, if somebody gives me a choice, I would love to just straight away dive into the medical device security part, because the hospital, whenever you talk to the hospital management or a doctor, they say, I'm non-tech, this is not, I don't know where. But if you just go to the inners of the hospital, hospitals are the most advanced, has the most advanced technologies that any other organization has, any other sector has. Okay, it is the first to adopt because it increases efficiency, it saves lives. So it's swarming with devices. Every day those devices are increasing. Every day, every new device is networking in a different manner. However, at the back end, the people who actually manage them, the owners and the top management, they have a same mindset. Okay, and when they have not given security the right priority, they hire the hiring is only similar to their priority. Hence, they give low salary, they hardly get good people, and it is, I'll not say mismanaged, it is not managed at all. In any hospital, the medical device security is zero right now, unless there is a separate focus towards it. So personally, I would love to dive into it, but whenever I've tried to focus it, whenever I see a big picture of a hospital, I approach, let's say I approach Fortis Noida to talk about medical device security, and if they are even willing to listen to me, when I go inside their IT room and go and start talking to their top management, I say, sir, frankly speaking, let's not talk about medical device security. First, let us solve your just basic security. So personally, medical device security is very interesting, and it is, the hospitals are swarming with network devices. If I was the owner, I mean, let's say there are a couple of owners who ask me, if you are being an evangelist, what do you want me to do immediately? They asked me this question, so I made a list and told them that, okay. So firstly, even if whenever the bill comes, firstly, it is going to, they will probably give you 2 years or so to become fully compliant. Okay, and even if the hospitals in the present stage, when they start, 2 years, it is not possible unless they pump in serious money into it, which of course hospitals don't have. Most of the hospitals don't have that money to pump in. So they should start baby steps right now. I mean, there is no news about data breach does not mean it is happening. It only means that the people who are getting your data are very happy about it, and they don't want to make a noise about it. I have enough information to share with you that China has got super focused towards Indian health sector, and they are amassing the data, the user data, the health data that we have. I don't know, the recent events have not made us the best of friends, so they may not, their aim may not succeed, but they have, for last 3 to 4 years, they have focused on healthcare data, and they have got a bigger. So to start with, they should do an in-depth cyber audit of from someone who wants to give an honest opinion. They have to trust their CISOs as well as the third party whom they want them to do the audit. Then they have to start revising the contracts with the third party vendors. I have been privy to some of the very big hospitals vendors, third party vendor contracts, SLAs, and you will agree with me, Mr. Vikramjit, saying that that is an area where you don't need any technology, but it is a lot of work which needs to be done. Then the user awareness is the next thing if given a choice, and then you have to have a policy. Unless there is no policy, there is the organization will not know, the other components of the organization will not know where to take the guidance from. And sometimes we all look for a template. So one way to look for a template is go out and seek a template, but sometimes the template comes to you, and that can come in form of PDPA. We all know that PDPA is coming, and these are the things that is going to be expected from me when I become a major data fiduciary. So you just take those expectations and make that as a template and start working, taking small steps.
Marcus is in similar view. Besides privacy, what are the big things CEOs and the boards for healthcare companies across various spectrum should be worried about or should be undertaking now?
So one is that let's from a hospital board or the CEO perspective, they need to take an oath that will make it happen. That's very important. So I'm coming back with the commitment that comes at the top. Second thing is that appoint somebody who is responsible for it. Today we are talking about CISOs in hospital, they're absent. So it's not that you have to recruit a separate person. Most of the time the discussion comes that we don't have money. So it's not about the money and getting another person to play the role. It's about having competent persons in the organization to play this role. So it's not that every time that you have to look for a guy always from outside and then play the role, right? So many organizations like yours would be happy to train someone to become a CISO in the organization, and that's absolutely possible, right? And this is a new role. Everybody knows that 30 years back this role was not there, but having somebody identified to play the role is very important. The third one is having a policy, right? So that's all of us discussing about it. If we don't have a policy, it will not get implemented. The first thing first is that we should have a policy. We all should sit down and decide that. And whatever the policy, this may not be the best policy in the world, but there has to be a starting point. And till the time that the mandate from the government is coming, we have an opportunity to do it ourselves, so that we are getting ready for handling the mandate much in a better manner. Otherwise, what happens is that even if the mandate is coming, we'll be struggling like anything, and we'll be blaming the government that government has come up with something which was not essential at this point of time. Biomedical engineers manages this biomedical devices. They are not under the control of the IT in the hospitals. And unfortunately, the awareness level of these biomedical engineers about the data protection, security, confidentiality, whatever you call it, it's very less. And there is nothing to blame them, because this is not a topic they ever looked at, neither during their education nor during any of the on-the-job courses they have attended. They all have been told that how to make the devices uptime running. The other point is particularly, most of these equipment manufacturers, they had not taken this subject seriously at all. If you look at the software or embedded IT in medical equipment, and if you look at them, they will be awfully non-compliant. Awfully means totally awfully. So they are all under AMC. You will find out that they have got a software which was probably 10 years back. And if the machine is under AMC, we would expect the software has to be compliant to the security as well, right? And then, this is a fault. We never put this condition during the AMC. In the AMC, again, the condition we have put is uptime. Most of the cases, they are unable to comply because the software is so old that it is vulnerable to, you can't believe the kind of embedded software is being used in these medical equipments. While these equipments, they themselves are very advanced, but the embedded software being used over there are quite vulnerable to any security threats, right? So these are the learnings. We have to put a person, a process, and a timeline, very importantly, because even if we have a process and persons, and if we don't have a timeline assigned to ourselves and we wait for a government to give us a timeline, that would be a mistake for all of us. Once we do these three things, I think Colonel Verma will be busy, and he, as rightly said, that would not have any time to come to the panel discussion.
Thank you, Partha sir, for that. On the lighter note, but then thank you everyone for making those valuable contributions from your side, insights, which are I'm sure would be not just interesting but also have a lot of takeaways for the listeners, so as to they can go and improve their own processes, their own systems, and then can improve the security posture, privacy posture for their respective organizations. So I sincerely thank you for taking out time, joining this panel discussion. Very enlightening. I learned a few things, and I'm sure our listeners will also be able to do it.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.